Hi guys, welcome back. Thanks for stopping in. And what I'm doing is once a month I wipe off all the leaves of my orchids with water and isopropyl alcohol. I do use tap water because distilled water, from what I've researched, doesn't do the same. The alcohol evaporates much quicker in it, whereas with the tap water it mixes and stays in. I can still smell the alcohol in here. I just do a splash, so I don't really measure it. I just do a splash and then I wipe off all my leaves of dust, and then if there are any critters on there, it does hopefully kill them. It's worked for me so far. But back in June, beginning of June, I did kind of a PHALAENOPSIS care video where I kind of talked about summertime is the growing season for the bulk of our hybrid orchids that we buy in our grocery stores. And I had cut some of the spikes off in hopes to initiate some more vegetative growth to produce more spikes, because the goal again is to get multiple spikes this year on my phals. So that is what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to kind of make my little predictions on whether I think they're going to, okay, let me fix this, hold on, if they're going to bloom or not. So what I'm doing is, so if you see, this is Peachy, no ID, I've named her Peachy, and I'll try to post pictures of all of the ones that we talk about today if I can find one. But if you look at her leaf, it's kind of growing, wanting to lay this way. I'm trying to avoid that for right now because she's not really secured into the pot yet or the basket, and I want her to stay a little more upright. So what I've done is I'm using my little tie, my little Velcro tie, because it is kind of soft, to kind of keep her from flopping over. And I probably have it way too big, but that's okay. To keep her from flopping forward until she hardens off a little bit, and then I'll take this off. I did the same thing with my Schilleriana that I recently got, and that leaf is kind of settled itself in. But as you can see, she still has room to grow. I just have it in there, excuse me, have it in there so that she doesn't flop forward. And if I can just stop messing with it. But I do get down into as close into the crown as I can, just to make sure I get everything out. And I do not deal with the new leaves, just because I'm not trying to dry them out. The older leaves I do. So since repotting her, and as you can see, she is still a little unsecure in this pot, so I'm trying not to move it too much. But she has finished off this leaf here, and she's working on this leaf, as well as she has some new roots growing. Let me turn her around gently. I'll just have to when I put her back. Let's see, you really can't see it, but it is right here under the sphagnum moss. Let's see if I can move the moss out of the way. See the nice new root? I put that sphagnum moss to encourage it to kind of go down. But do I expect her to bloom? Well, she has enough vegetative growth to bloom, because PHALAENOPSIS, well, the hybrids anyway, bloom off of the second or third leaf from the top. So she has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we could potentially get a bloom or a spike from here or from down here, and she could even do one down here at the bottom if she chose. I'm going to go ahead and put her back where she normally sits, because it's just literally right here beside me. I don't want to keep knocking her over. I barely move her. I move her to water her, and then, like I said, once a month she gets her little wipe down. Make sure that leaf, all right. So I've already wiped all the rest of them down. So this is the PHALAENOPSIS, which one is this? This is Lou's Berry. So this is the one with the really cute little pink flowers. I just cut her spike probably 2 weeks ago. And I do see that she does have a little tiny leaf growing in there. Can you see it? And I don't see any new root growth, but she's not struggling either. So she does have enough leaves to bloom again because her last spike was right here. So if we count, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we do have the potential for 1 spike. This is going to be a maybe. This is not a definite for me. This is going to be a maybe just because, like I said, I did just cut her spike and she is going to be working on that new leaf, and I expect some new root growth as well. And then I'm just going to set her here. Then we have a no ID phal that I cut the spikes about a month and a half, maybe 6 weeks ago. And she's just now starting new root production as well as this new leaf here. This leaf she had when I cut the spike. So true to form, Phalaenopsis, if they're growing a leaf, once they start growing the spike, whatever else they're working on, it just stops. Roots will continue to grow once the spike matures. However, the leaf will never grow. I say never. I've had a couple that do it, but 99.99% of the time, they don't continue growing their leaf. She does, again, have enough to do 1 spike. If she does spike, I doubt she will, but if she does, I will determine on the health of her root system whether or not we let her spike. So this one is, again, a maybe. So we have 2 maybes. I'm trying to find space to put them all because I've got a bunch of big girls. So this one is Velvet. So Velvet has been in this pot since April, and she's finally starting to settle in. As you can see, she's got a root growing there, and she's got some roots growing back in here. She is absorbing these bottom leaves, especially this one right here. It's getting really leathery. I'm just going to let her do her thing. And then she did start this leaf here, but due to the stress of the repot and trying to get herself settled in, this is all she did, and now she's working on a new leaf down there. Does she have enough leaves to spike? Yes, she does. At least 1. Again, with her, if she does try to spike, although I would love to see those beautiful velvet leaves or blooms again, the health of her roots will determine, because I don't want to bring her down just to see the bloom. I may have to wait until next year for the actual full blooming of everyone, but the goal is to try to get as many of these to bloom as possible and be healthy. So I will also put her where she belongs because she literally just sits right here. All right, and then we have Pomegranate. So Pomegranate is the one that, let's see if I can move the leaf. See the spike right here? This spike I bought her with, I can't speak today, back in December 27th, and it grows a little bit, then it stops, grows a little bit and stops. I haven't seen any progression on it, so I don't think it's going to go anywhere. However, the good news with her is I'm starting to see roots on the side of the pot, which means she has plenty inside, plus she's got root explosion here at the top on both sides. So she is healthy enough to bloom if she so chooses. This season she has developed this leaf here, and she is finishing off on this one, and I don't see any new leaf growth at now, but she does have the potential actually to maybe produce 2 spikes. She has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leaves, so she's got plenty of space to give us at least 2 spikes. Now, will she do 2 spikes? Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. And I'll just switch these out here. All right, and then we have the pink, the Tadia Blush. This is the one that has the purplish lilac flowers. So she is growing this aerial root here. Let me take her out of here. So she is growing that aerial root there, and it does still have a fresh tip on it, so it is extending. You can see right here, see that little break? That means that's where she stopped, and then she just moved here. If you hear the little pitter-patter of the supervisors, just kind of ignore that. They are making sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and they come in and they check on me and then they leave. So if I can't edit that out, then, well, sorry. But she has some nice root growth on here, and then she's got this nice root growing here. So again, that kind of indicates to me that there are roots on the inside, and I just noticed there's another little root tip there. So I have found in my experience that once you see roots on the outer. Generally, there are roots on the inside as well. I'm sure there's some dead ones from when I repotted her, but I'm not going to unpot her and disturb her. She currently, I don't see a leaf in there. Now, does she have the potential to bloom? Probably not. I'm going to turn her around backwards so the tag doesn't show. But she only has 3 leaves, and her last spike came from the bottom here. So yeah, she might have the potential to bloom in between here. However, again, depending on her health, I may not let her bloom if she so chooses. But if her roots continue to do what they're doing now, I will let her bloom. All right, and we already talked about Miss Pomegranate. All right, and then we have Miss Unimpressive. I call her that because her last blooming was just that. It was very unimpressive. Now, I did find a tag, again, at my local big box store. They had a bunch of flowers that resembled and looked very similar to her, but since she was out of bloom and the pictures I took weren't very good, I couldn't really tell if it was her, so I did take one of the tags off of one of the ones that they were throwing away. It's the DTPS, again, reclassified as a Phalaenopsis. I think it's Queen Boar or Queen Bear. Oh, can't hold things today. I'll put the name at the bottom down here, but this one looked very similar, so I'm holding on to the tag until she blooms again, just to see if it's her. If it's not, then I'll throw the tag away and she'll still be unimpressive. But, so, she last bloomed from right down there, so that's where we cut the last spike, and she is now starting on new leaf growth here, as well as some new roots, and she has lots and lots and lots of roots in this pot. I'm hoping to keep her in here at least one more year, but she does dry out rather quickly. She's one of the ones that I have to water twice, so I have my Phalaenopsis day that I water, but in between the next watering, this one and a few more, I have to give them another trickle because they're drying out so quickly. And I know it's because of the roots. The more roots you have in a pot, the drier the pot will become, the quicker. Wait a minute, that didn't make sense. The quicker the pot will dry out. There we go. All right, so she does have the potential to bloom. Again, we have 4 mature leaves, and she's working on the 5th one. Again, if she decides to give me another bloom, I'm gonna let her bloom, not just because I wanna see if she is this one here, but also she is healthy enough to bloom again. She's healthy enough actually to do a double spike. So hopefully she'll bloom for me again. And let's see, where can I put this one? I'll just set her right there. All right, and then we have, let's see, this is my Harlequin, and not much I don't see going on in the pot. Now, her last spike was right here, right in between that bottom one. So she has already spiked, let's see, 1, 2, 3. So she's already spiked down. The only place that she would have the potential to spike right now would be probably right here, or if she finishes off this leaf here, she may have the potential to spike up here somewhere. Now, there may be a spike down in here that, you know, from leaf loss previously that we just haven't gotten yet, but I'm not expecting that. She attempted to grow this leaf here, but again, I believe it was the stress of the repot. She just stopped that one, and now she's working on this new one here. And although I can't see the roots, when I put her in here, I know she had a very healthy root system, so I will continue to let her spike should she decide to bless me with a spike. And as you can see, that tip, that old root right there, decided to go ahead and extend itself. And I'm trying to keep that kind of close to the media, and I may put a piece of bark on that just to encourage her to go down. And let me do that now so I do not forget, because you know I'm an old lady. We old ladies forget things. And put that back over there. Okay, and let me move these 2 forward so we can have a little space to move her over there. All right, let's talk about this one here. This is my Phalaenopsis Sogo Yakudan, and for a good 2 months, she didn't do anything. She just pouted. Well, ever since, I'm going to say the beginning of June, she started doing some root growth here, and she has quite a few of them coming out and going in, as well as here in the back. Now, I still don't see a new leaf growing in. However, she still has the potential to spike because she does have enough leaves. So her last spike did come from the bottom. So she has a total of 5 leaves, 5 spikes, wouldn't that be amazing? 5 leaves, so she does have room for at least 1 spike. I'm hoping that she puts on some vegetative growth, just so I can, and I'm gonna let her go ahead, if she decides to spike, I'm gonna go ahead and let her bloom, just so I can see what these blooms look like in person. All right, now this is our Phalaenopsis Morgan. I love her growth pattern. I love it. Look at that. It's just like, it's like she's like laying down with her hands up over her head, like I'm just chilling. But she is working on this lovely leaf here that looks like it's going to be just as juicy as the other leaves here. It's like she's not stressed. And recently she has started growing a new little root. And I may have to move that stake so that root doesn't get stuck to it, because I don't want it drying out on this stake. So I may do that when I get done with this. I'll spray some water and wet it real good and then gently remove. However, her last spike was from the bottom here. So she does have the potential, let's see, 1, 2, 3. So she can spike there, and then 1, 2, 3. So she does have the potential for 2. She may give me 2. I'm just hoping for 1, because these are beautiful, beautiful pink flowers. I love them. And then we have, this is a no ID, but it looks very much like the, what is that? The Nernova or something like that. But this is the one that is the yellow one with the pretty deep magenta lip with a little bit of white accent. Oh, just gorgeous. And it's a color changer. It starts off kind of dark when it first comes out, and then it lightens up. Oh my goodness. But her last spike that I got from her was right here. Now, this season, she's just been an overachiever. She's grown this leaf, and now she's working on this one here. Now, this one here is a little bit thinner than the other 2, but I think it's because I kept moving her, because I was trying to train this leaf to kind of go to the light and stay open, because she was kind of going this way. And I think that's my fault as far as the size. It's not as fat, but she has the potential for at least 1 spike, and she has been actually pretty reliable for me since I've had her. She has spiked for me at least once a year. Last year she spiked for me twice, so she's been pretty reliable. So I just expect her to bloom, so we're going to give her a yes. And then the final one we're going to talk about today is Little Miss Sunshine. So Little Miss Sunshine is finally working on a new leaf here, and she does have some new root tips in the pot, so that is good. Now she's absorbing these 2 bottom leaves here, and a lot of people will leave them on until they're completely dried off, and they do make a natural cut on their own. I, however, once they get to this stage here, especially this one, I like to take them off, because there are roots under there that will come out. So what I do, let's see if I can do this, yes. So what I do is I take the leaf, I find where the line of demarcation is, or the center, and I just will split it in half, okay? And then I will gently, actually let me move this stake out of the way, real quick. And then what I like to do is I like to hold her by the base, and I gently will peel it off. And I do that because I don't like those hard pieces on the Phalaenopsis that the leaves make. And I'm very careful to make sure not to damage any roots. So sometimes you just have to take your time. There we go. And then let me just put that stake right here, because the stake is kind of holding her in place. Again, I'll just split her in half. Okay. And hold her by the crown so that she's not wobbling too much. And I will split her again just because she has that spike in the way. Okay, and then just pull her a little bit. All right, well, I do have my whiskers handy. I just sanitized them, was getting ready to put them up. So there we go. And just cut that in half. And then I'll take this one here and take that piece off. There we go. All right, there she is. Now you can obviously leave the flowers on until they come off on their own. The leaves off on their own, or if you so choose, you can do that. But if you're going to do that, be very, very careful that you're not just ripping it off. Like, you want to do it slowly, you want to take your time, and you want to make sure that there are no roots trying to grow in that you're going to damage doing that. I only suggest doing that as well if you're not watering that day. So this way it gives it time to dry out, and you are not going to cause any kind of an infection from water and whatnot for any tears that you may have done. Sometimes I will spray it with hydrogen peroxide if it's a more sickly plant, but she's fine. Again, I don't see a lot of stuff going on, but these new root tips here are very encouraging, as is this new leaf here. And again, she last bloomed from down here, so she does have the potential, even if she wasn't growing this new leaf here, she would still have the potential for at least one spike. And again, I will probably let her go ahead and spike and just watch her. And as I was saying about the roots, I don't know if you can see, but let's see if I can get it in. Do you see that root right in front of us, right under the flower spike there? That was underneath that flower, or I keep calling it a flower, that leaf. Had I let that leaf just harden off on its own, that root would have had to struggle to get through that hardness and get out. So this way it just leaves it open for them. And knowing that that root is there, tomorrow, I always let it wait at least 24 hours. Tomorrow I will probably put a little bit of moss on here just to encourage that root to continue, and then to go down into the media. So that is my predictions for them. Again, I feel like most of them have the potential to spike. It just all depends on what they want to do. And as it gets closer to fall and once the temperatures drop, I have a plan. I'm going to move them all into a spare bedroom. I'm going to turn all the heat, if we have the heat on at the time, because the first snow in Colorado can come really at any time. Usually it's October, but sometimes they can come in September. So if the heat is not on, I'll leave the vents alone. But if the heat is on, I'm going to close the vent, close the door, crack the window to get that coolness in there, and then put a towel under the door so there's no excess heat going in, to kind of encourage that temperature drop until I see a spike on each one. And usually it'll take about 2 weeks when you do that. I have done that before, but by putting them outside, but I have too many now to put outside. I'm not going to take them outside every day and bring them in every morning. It would take way too long. So that's my plan. So as it gets closer to that, we'll film the moving of the orchids. I haven't decided if I'm going to buy another shelf to put in there, or if I'm just going to kind of set them around on the floor, because nobody goes in there. And Winter, the big supervisor, she just goes in there and lays on the extra bed, so she's not going to mess with them. But either way, that is the plan for that, and hopefully we can induce the spiking. I will be doing several sets of these and going through each one of the phals. It's just I have currently, I think, 53 or 58 hybrid phals, and that's just a lot to go through in one sitting. So I appreciate your time, and if you're still here, thank you so much for watching it all the way through. And go ahead and comment down below on how you get your phals to, or well, your hybrid phals. to spike, and do you have any special care that you do in your environment? And then we will see you on the next one.